They just installed these last night.
5 seconds?
Cherish this moment. Sweet
No,
spot.
let's wait till Casey sits down.
That's right. Security tight for me. First bogey player.
I never did that when I sat down there.
Well, you're lucky to.
Good to go.
Yep.
That's right.
Welcome to the May 7th Design Review Commission meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Case?
Here.
Commissioner Riley?
Here.
Vice Chair Basting?
Here.
Chair Newsom?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. So item number 2 in the agenda is the consent calendar. Are there any items on the consent calendar?
Staff would recommend moving no items to consent.
Then I think we should move on. Public communications. This portion of the meeting is reserved for comments. Items not on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the commission cannot act on items raised during public communications, but may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed, request clarification, or refer item to the staff. Do we have any public communications? Any cards turned in? No. Okay.
None?
Moving right along. Okay, so now, before we get into the public hearing, we need to have a disclosure of ex parte communications. This portion of the meeting is reserved for the planning commissioners, not the planning commissioners, the design review commissioners, to disclose any communications, including site visits that they have on current agenda items or conflict of interest regarding current agenda items. Does anybody have any conflict of, has anybody had communications or any conflicts?
Nope.
No? Very good, nor do I, so let's move on. Okay, so we're going to move on to the public hearing. Looks like we have one item on the public hearing, which is the Taiwanese Community Center and after-school program. Does staff have a presentation? Looks like you do.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Simmer Gill, Senior Planner with the City. We are here tonight to consider the design review for the Taiwanese Cultural Center that will be located at 1755 Sunnyvale Avenue. The applicant and architect, along with his team, are here. Cyril Chong, and I apologize, I don't know everybody else's names, but Cyril Chong is the applicant and architect, and he is here tonight, as am I, to answer any questions that you may have after this presentation. And just to quickly orient you with the site, it is zoned R8, single-family residential. The surrounding area does consist primarily of single-family homes. However, there is an existing church on this one parcel. There are 3 parcels that are being merged, and there's 50 parking stalls on site. After the merger, all of the existing use, which is the church, as well as the proposed uses, will use the same parking under a shared parking agreement. And moving on, this is a photo of the existing buildings on site. As I mentioned earlier, there's the East Bay United Methodist Church that does operate at this site on Sundays, and there is an existing building right adjacent to it, which will be demolished for proposed construction of the new Taiwanese Community Center that will be located in that exact location, fronting Sunnyvale. And right behind it, you see the existing social hall, which will remain. And all the way to the back is the pastor's home. This is an old aerial image. So currently on site, this was demolished as the home is being rebuilt under new construction, however, in the same location. And then to the far left is just a grassy open space area. And so the project consists of a construction of a 4,500 square foot, 1-story community center. It will offer Taiwanese cultural classes for adults, and will also operate a after-school program for kindergarten through 8th grade students. There are some minor modifications to the existing site that will include widening of the existing driveway into the site, relocation of existing ADA parking stalls, and also new public walkways that will tie in from Sunnyvale and wrap around the new community center, as well as tie into the social hall right behind the community center. And the project also includes new landscaping and trees. This will quickly go over the business operating plan. The Taiwanese Cultural Center will operate from 9 a.m. to noon, Monday through Fridays. Some of the activities include cultural enrichment and language classes, painting, flower arrangement, and other such classes that are tailored for adults and seniors. The after-school program will operate from 2 to 5 p.m. Monday through Fridays. There is a pickup and drop-off area that will occur by the parking stalls that's nearest to the courtyard space and near the entrance of the new community center that's facing to the south. And the activities offered are arts and craft, language and dance classes, and other group activities. And based on the business operating plan, the maximum cap of students will be 33. And they are anticipating 20 students and 40 teachers daily. Between the two classrooms, I believe they're going to break it up between 10 to 12 students per class. And the existing church will continue to operate on Sundays only. So tonight, the DRC is tasked at providing general feedback on the design of the community center building, the overall site layout, the building design and color material palette, as well as the landscape plan. And that input will be presented to the Planning Commission for their consideration and hopefully approval of the project. And that also includes the conditional use permits. So again, just any comments on the conditional use permits that are required for this project. There are 3 that would be required. One for the cultural institution use, which is for the community center. The second one is to operate the after-school program. And the third is essentially to legalize an existing religious assembly use. As the church was built in 1938, however, it was incorporated into the city in 1963. So there's no record found in the city for any use permits that it's operating with. And here is the existing and proposed site layout. As you can see, the overall site does essentially remain the same, and the access to the site will continue from the existing driveway on Sunnyvale. The area that I've highlighted blue is where the changes to the site will occur. The driveway will be widened to comply with current code requirements, and then the 5-foot wide walkways that would connect from Sunnyvale leading to the new building and the courtyard space is proposed both on the west and east sides of the site. And then the courtyard space will wrap around both the community center and the existing South Hall and will be finished with permeable pavers and tie into the walkways. And just to quickly go over the parking, there are a total of 50 parking stalls on site. My apologies, there was a typo in the staff report. I believe I said 52. 2 parking stalls are for the Pastures home, so I miscounted, 50 total, and this 50 does include the ADA stalls as well. And again, the city's traffic administrator, who was under our city's Muni code, would make the determination if parking is required or adequate for the cultural institution use, did confirm that the existing parking on site is sufficient, given that the church would be operating only on Sundays, so there would be no overlap with operations of the community center. And again, as you can see here, even the after-school program and the community center, it's at separate times. It's during the same days, but separate timings. In the 9 to noon, I believe, for the community center, and then 2 to 4 is for the school. And yeah, so basically, since they're operating at separate times, that does ensure that there'll be no overlap or any parking demand on site. And here is the floor plan that features double doors that open up into a central lobby that then provides access to a larger auditorium library space and into these 2 classrooms. And additional classrooms could be created with these retractable space. I believe that architect could go more into that detail, but it's primarily 2 classrooms that are permanent. And to the left of the lobby is, to the left of the entrance is basically storage areas, offices, and restrooms. And over here, the mechanical equipment and trash will be located within a fenced-off area along this east corner of the site. And here's a rendering that shows that fence and that it will tie into the perimeter fence along here. So here is the north elevation facing the street. The building does have a modern, innovative design and consists of variations in building height and materials, and also includes clear story windows and a sloped roof. And the exterior facade consists of gray and white stucco. Roofing material is a combination of standing seam metal roof and PVC. And here is the south elevation, which is the front entrance of the community center. It features a glass storefront system with folding doors, and the yellow cedar glulam columns frame the entrance, which will enhance this overall building elevation. And the building height does range from 16 to 24 feet. It does provide nice articulation to the building, and the flat and lower portion of the roof is located along the east side of which is the closest to the residential properties. And the main entrance was also intentionally placed to face the south elevation, which is the interior space of the site, to maintain a low profile from neighboring residences. And here is the west elevation that'll face the existing church. And here you can see in relation to how the building will be in relation to the existing social hall building. And here is the east building elevation that'll face the adjacent residential property. Typically in residential neighborhoods, a 5-foot minimum side yard setback is required. They are providing, the building will be set 15 feet away from the fence line along the east property line. And the building is also set back 40 feet where 20 feet is required along the front from Sunnyvale. And here are just some renderings essentially showing how this building will fit into the context of the existing site. Here you see the church, existing church, and this is the, again, facing south, the entrance of the new building, the clear story windows, and over here you see the south hall, social hall. That is, again, there'll be a courtyard here that will connect, and a walkway that would connect to the social hall. And here is just some more renderings, and then a aerial view incorporating the new community center, basically just to give some site context, how it fits into the surrounding neighborhood with the adjacent residential property shown here. And moving on to the landscape plan, the applicant is proposing 4 new 15-gallon trees. There will be a mix of redbud, strawberry, and guava trees, and also proposing 5-gallon shrubs, grasses, and ground cover that will be scattered throughout the site. There are several existing trees, such as the cedar that is right here, that's along the front of the site, which will be preserved. And there's several other trees in the back of the site that will also be preserved, enhancing the site's visual appeal. Staff does support the proposed landscape plan, however, does request DRC's input on the overall plan. And the overall design and site does meet the intent of the city's design standards. However, there are some design standards that were not addressed as part of the plans. Please note that any of these standards that can be waived by the highest approving body, which would be the Planning Commission in this case, if they do find that this standard is not necessary. But I did want to highlight them for your review. So the first one is the pedestrian circulation, basically a change in materials or texture. The pedestrian route that does connect the new community center to the existing church doesn't indicate a material change, so we're not sure if it meets that standard. The next one is regarding blank walls. The standard requires that along sidewalks or pedestrian walks, blank walls along the ground floor shall not exceed 30 feet in length. The building plans show that there's a 45-foot-long blank wall that's facing Sunnyvale, which is the north elevation of the building. So staff does recommend that additional design elements be incorporated to break up the wall and to overall just enhance the street-facing elevation beyond what they show on the plans, which is just some landscaping. And then the other two design standards listed here are regarding lighting. One is the pedestrian scale lighting along the walkways, and then the other is just making sure all outdoor lighting is designed and directed downwards and shielded so it doesn't spill onto the adjacent properties. So again, the project plans didn't provide any details. A lighting plan would be required to determine compliance with this requirement. And the next one is the landscape screening. It says that when you're utilizing landscaping for screening purposes, the landscaping should at least have one 24-inch box-sized tree that should be planted. The landscaping that's being proposed, it appears as using the tree along the north elevation to screen the blank wall. However, it's only 15 gallons in size, so we would recommend, staff would recommend a minimum of 24-inch box size be required. So tonight, staff would like DRC to comment on the design, the architecture, color materials, landscape, and confirm compliance with the city's design standards, and also provide input on any of these standards. And with that, again, staffs are recommending the Design Review Commission to review the site design, the building architecture, the landscape plan, as well as provide a positive recommendation to the Planning Commission regarding the site and building design, as well as any input on the 3 conditional use permits. And that is all I have for my presentation, but I would like to note for the record that we did receive one public comment, which has been incorporated as part of the agenda packet. I've also spoken to the neighbor who has submitted the public comment, so I believe I addressed all of his concerns, but if happy to answer, elaborate if you have any other questions on that. And the applicant's team also has a presentation for you tonight. Thanks. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
Doesn't show that yet.
Where is that public comment?
It should be at the back.
The
Nope,
back, okay.
all the way at the end. It should be incorporated, yeah. There were mostly, so I could just quickly recap, but the questions were basically just regarding, is the parking sufficient? If there's special events, how will the parking, if there's overflow parking, do they have a plan in action to address that? So mostly traffic-related questions.
Okay, right. Thank you. What's next? So the next is
Yeah, there's some additional materials. One, I could, is anybody interested in seeing the glue lamp?
I can see it from here.
And that was featured in the front and the entrance. You
Yeah.
can see it on those.
Yeah. Does the applicant have any presentation?
Any questions to staff?
Any questions of staff first? I asked that. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan Cole. I was the founder and president of the TACCEB. Let me just briefly describe the background, the whole thing. I came from Taiwan I hope everybody know about Taiwan, right? Does everybody know? Okay. I came to this country 62 years ago for graduate school. 12 years ago, I moved to East Bay. When I first came here, I saw that our generation, we consider we are the first generation to the United States. The church was bought by Taiwanese 45 years ago. So those people, and including myself, many of them, one by one, go to heaven, called by God. So I look at the situation. I see the whole community, East Bay Taiwanese Association, coming down. I couldn't stand that. So 2 years later, I become the president of the EBTA, East Bay Taiwanese Association. I call upon my fellow Taiwanese Americans who live here. Don't ask what the community can do for you, but ask what you can do for community. You know these sentence. I changed the country to the JFK country. So that calling really make a lot of people moved. So the year end, the annual meeting, the whole church full of the people. I counted 198 people. That's the most people attend the EBTA association. So from there on, I participated in a lot of things. And also thought about how to revitalize the entire community. One thing I thought about, the church building, this building was 95 years old, and I need more people, younger generation, to carry the heritage. But for quite a while, couldn't find, but until 2020, we have a young pastor. He was only 46 years old. No, relative to me, almost half the age. Anyway, that's very important because of church ground. So I present my mission statement to him, ask him to see, I want to develop the community center, the culture center, to revitalize the entire community. He studied for a while. 1 month later, he's still worried, but I said, all right. Anyway, by the year November, he finally said, yes, let's go. So I gave 12 people and present my mission statement. All right, today, this is the background. I'm using this occasion to just read my mission statement. I have my whole life, everything I do, I have to have a mission statement. The reason for that, I need the whole team to consent to agree with that mission. Otherwise, you cannot do it yourself. So here is simply just to create a vibrant Taiwanese American culture for that support and maintain Taiwanese heritage. This heritage including our culture, our value, our democratic system, to share this Taiwanese heritage with wider community around the center. Our goal is three goals: to create an active, permanent community center for permanent home, for East Bay Taiwanese American, to foster relationship with the surrounding community. We are not just going to take care of ourselves. We want to foster our relationship with the surrounding community and educate people about Taiwan and USA share the principle of the democracy and freedom. Thirdly, we want to foster the opportunity for the Formosan United Methodist Church, for the East Bay community continue to grow and generate for grow and generation to come. So I'm just mentioning to you this is our mission, our goal, and for the detail you can ask our architect later. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Was there anything else on the other side? Was there an architect's presentation? Yeah. Cool.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Cyril Chong. I am the architect for this project. Thank you, Ms. Gill, for giving you all the basic understanding of what the project about. And thank you, Dr. Cole, for giving his very passionate statement and mission statement about this project. This project is very important to this group of Taiwanese immigrants. And I am very honored to have worked with them over the past 1.5 years. So since Ms. Gill has given you basically the basic understanding, the technical information, so what I'm gonna spend the rest of my time is to kind of go through some of the design logic, and hopefully we'll get your endorsement tonight. So as you have seen this sketch, so I'm not gonna repeat this. You have seen what the site is about, the surrounding context. And I think Dr. Cole has given a very passionate mission statement of him. So I'm not going to repeat most of this. But as you can see on the left is a diagram that actually we use in our internal meetings. Is basically a 3-panel comics. So we start with a very small tree with all these little children listening to the elderly gentleman. And as these children grow up, they share the knowledge with the peers. And finally, when the children become the elderly, he or she is passing the knowledge to the next generation. And I think this is a very important mission statement that Dr. Cole feels very passionate about. And we try to achieve this in this community center. So as you can see here, some of the site photos, and that shows the building that we are going to demolish. The building simply is not sufficient for the space that we need to utilize. And this is the existing Google Earth image of the existing site and the image, and this is what we've proposed that you have seen in Ms. Gill's information. So roughly, in terms of the site plan, I think Ms. Gill, you have given a good context of how we plan to do on the site. Architecturally speaking, what we are trying to achieve, because we understand this building is going to be situated in the middle of the residential neighborhood. We want to be respectful to the scale and to the style of the surroundings. So one of the challenge is how to incorporate this respect into the building design. And in this case, the first major decision that we want to make is to put the entrance on the south side, away from the street. So basically, the north side would be kept as the quiet side, and then the south side would be what we call the active side. So as you can see, the entry plaza is located at the southwest corner of the site, basically just right off the parking lot, in between the social hall, the existing social hall, the church, and the proposed building. And this is where the main entrance would be. And then there will be another courtyard in between the social hall and the proposed cultural center in order to create an outdoor living space. Just to walk you through the basics spatial design, it is actually a very simple building. As you enter the lobby, to the left is the administration office with the reception window to take care of any information or business. And then to the north, that is the office for the pastor. And then restroom storage. The most important space is the one to the right, which is the auditorium, library, exhibition space. And then 2 permanent classrooms, a smaller conference room. And the auditorium, when you don't need all those spaces, could be partitioned off with folded partitions to create 2 additional temporary classrooms, just in case we need them. So as I mentioned before, the north side is the quiet side. So in terms of the design, so what we try to adopt is we try to use simple massing. Because the building is right in the middle of a residential neighborhood and is also right next to the church. So we want to create an architectural vocabulary that relates both to the church as well as to the general neighborhood. So what you see here is basically 3 masses. One is this white masses that sloped towards Sunnyvale Avenue. And then next to it is a taller rectangular mass in gray. And then behind them is a triangular massing, which houses the auditorium. Now, as Ms. Gill has mentioned, that this white wall is fairly long. It's about 45 feet in width. And that decision was actually intentional. We took some inspiration from traditional architecture and gardens, and it was a fairly commonly used feature, a very long white wall with very little fenestration. And in this case, aside from the cultural reference, we think that it will be appropriate to create this because the building is set back from the street about 40 to 50 feet. There is no pathway directly in front of the wall. So when you see the wall, you'll always be 40 to 50 feet away. And we believe that the scale actually could use something that is fairly long, almost like a bare minimum, that you could provide a very clean backdrop or canvas, if you will, for any ornamental trees and then the signage to the building, just to keep everything simple. So as you can see, this view from the northwest corner, you could see this gray mass, which behind them will be the 2 classrooms, and then behind this white wall would be the restroom. And then you could see a hint of the auditorium at the back. And one thing that I want to point out is that, as I mentioned before, we try to relate to the church in terms of architecture. So what we're trying to do is, as you could see this slope, it kind of roughly sloped towards the spire of the church. And this horizontal wall, actually, I think it provides a very good juxtaposition. As you can see, it goes east-west versus the church spire that goes vertically in the z-axis, and potentially the main body of the church goes in another direction. So I think the 3 masses actually forms a pretty good partnership in terms of visual composition. And when you flip to the other side, this is the south side, which is the more active side. This will be the focal point of all the activities and connections. So on this side, the treatment is very different. We have an abundance of window wall and storefront to bring in as much natural light as possible. Some of these openings could be opened when the weather is nice to allow natural ventilation and direct connection to the courtyard. And the addition of wood columns in this case bring in a sense of warmth and welcome to the facility. So in terms of materials, I have some samples here. Basically, the general color palette is very simple. It's made up of white, dark gray, and a light wood color. So the light wood color obviously would go onto the glue lamps on the south side and the exterior, and then it would extend interior to the inside as well. The medium gray applies to the metal roof. Should I? Okay, I'll be done. The medium gray would apply to the metal roof, and then the light and dark gray stucco would apply to these 2 different masses that face the north side. And I have some samples that you could pass around. So just some exterior and interior shots for you. As you come into the lobby, this is the reception on the left, and then you could see a little bit of the auditorium when you look towards the other side. And here's some interior shot from the auditorium looking out towards the courtyard. As you can see in this case, we have some permanent bookshelves on the north side of the wall, projection screen, so it could be adapted to different kind of activities. And if you would indulge me, I would like to show you a 40-second clip of a quick walkthrough of the building. Thank you, Ms. Gill. Great. So I hope, so that's all I have for you. So I welcome all your comments, and I hope that tonight, after what you have heard from Dr. Koh and my presentation, we could earn your endorsement on this project. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Hang on. Let's see if you have any questions. So Any questions?
I do have a question. Is there any way you could tell us how this building or even its integration into the church site helps to celebrate the Taiwanese culture?
Excuse me. So I did mention there's some architectural elements or forms that we took inspiration from traditional architecture. Now the church itself, because the religious part is, obviously is not directly connected to the traditional architecture. So what we are trying to achieve here is basically use the massing of the new building, use the different shapes, for example, how the roof apex point towards the spire of the church. Hopefully it will create a positive space in between the two buildings that the viewers could relate to, that says, okay, these two look kind of related in one way or the other. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Also, the back area that has like the 6-foot wood fence closest to the neighbor. What happens in that area?
Are we allowed to flip through? So inside, that is the surface yard. So the biggest piece of equipment is the HVAC equipment there, because at maximum capacity, the auditorium could house about 230 people. So the HVAC system has to be designed to accommodate that many people. So as you can see, at the north side of the surface yard, where's the mouse? On the north side of the surface yard, we have the HVAC equipment. And then on the south side is reserved for basically an area for garbage, as well as potentially catering spaces. Occasionally, maybe twice or 3 times a year, they might host a banquet inside this space. So that space right now is reserved for catering service, as well as any back of the house activities that they don't want to be put in the building for right now.
Okay. I noticed in the arborist report that there's a mulberry tree that they recommended remove because it wasn't going to survive construction. It's already dead. But it looks like it's on the plans.
It just happened about a month ago.
Okay, so maybe just, consistency on that. It also mentioned that there's an evergreen pear that's going to remain, and it shows up on the plans to remain as well. But the arborist report recommends clearing the contained area that it's in right now. Is that considered to be a part of the project? It's outside of the...
I think you're talking about that tree that is
Yes.
being shown on the south
Yeah.
side, right? The location of that tree currently is outside the scope of this particular project. But since, as you can see, that we are extending the area or the EV-capable parking space, and the tree is right next to that. So my anticipation is that that area could be incorporated into the final design of the project.
Okay. That's it. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a couple questions. So there are several items that aren't meeting design guidelines for the city of Walnut Creek. And one of them is the pedestrian crossing, your driveway. Are you going to identify that with a different type of material or some sort of method for drivers to know that there might be people in front of them on a regular basis?
Yes. As you can see in the plan, we did indicate a crosswalk. Now, of course, the materials was not indicated because it was early in our design stage. But it was always the intention that we will create bumps at both ends of the crosswalk and probably along the entire crosswalk to alert both the pedestrians and the drivers as well. Those details would come during the next stage.
Okay, and then also there were comments from staff about the blank walls and the requirement in the city that they should not exceed 30 feet. Did you have a solution with some other design elements that could go there? Because right now you only have one tree planned for that.
Correct. As I mentioned before, that was an intentional decision to create that long blank wall as a juxtaposition to the form of the church and to provide a proper scale when the building is viewed from the street. Now, we could certainly take into consideration if that is a requirement. However, our take is that we do not want to overly complicate that side of the facade. And we believe that the white wall, just being juxtaposed with the gray form to its left, and then the triangular apex at the back, actually forms a pretty good composition. And it is not our intention right now to throw in additional elements onto the blank wall other than the sign that says the Taiwanese American Culture Center. However, we certainly would take the recommendation if that is your suggestion.
Well, additionally, the tree that you have specified for that location is not the required size. So I'd start there, and then I'd probably add a couple more trees if you're not planning on breaking up. I understand sort of the design element. We have a lot of that in traditional California Spanish architecture with a long white wall. So I get the concept. It's just normally it's broken up with something green and living so that it's not so fortressy looking. And then I had the same comment about the side that faces the neighbors where your side yard and your HVAC and everything will be. But it sounds to me like that might be, there's a buffer there of all that equipment, so I'm not sure how fortressy looking that's gonna look to the neighbors with all that stuff in between. That would be that is a kind of a question that I have in my head. We're kind of sensitive to how things fit within their environment and how the neighbors are treated and how they have to live with whatever's, right up next to them.
Right.
That they have to look at. So my other main question was relative to the lighting. There's a lot of landscape expanse, a lot of walkways, and I would be concerned attending an event there if there wasn't, the specified pedestrian style lighting that the city requires. Those are my questions. Do you have a plan for that too that you haven't gotten to yet in this set?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I totally agree. We understand the requirements of the landscape lighting. When we submit this plan, the landscape portion lags behind the architectural portion a little bit. Right now, it is more of a preliminary concept design. Now, what we plan to do is, before the set of plans go to the planning commission, we would like to incorporate the conceptual design of landscape lighting and potentially develop the landscape design further. For example, like what you suggest, putting more trees in front of that white wall. What you see in today's submission from the landscape standpoint is our preliminary concept plan, if you will.
Okay, so you're going to be adding lighting at some point?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Hi, I have a question regarding the choice of trees that were made, particularly the maple and the dogwood. Is there a particular reason that those trees were chosen?
So I wish I could answer that question. In this particular project, we work with a landscape designer. And just for disclosure, moving forward, we will be switching to a different landscape designer. So our understanding is that the current concept or the choice, the selections of trees and all the plants are preliminary review process. And our goal is basically to develop those in much further detail before the planning commission meeting. So unfortunately, I do not know well enough about the tree species to answer your question, but we will take your comment very seriously into consideration, and we will pass that to our landscape designer, and he would continue to develop that front.
Okay, because as well, the size going in is not sufficient for the structure, of course, of that size, and just being aware. I saw that it It's fine for the water requirements required by the state, but there's also the heat of the air here in Walnut Creek. And I think being very aware of certain leaves and certain positions and that the trees will be successful. And so using a maple or a dogwood is just something you really need to be careful with
Okay,
because of the summer heat.
really? Okay. Thank you for letting me know because I'm just planting a dogwood in my backyard. It's helpful information.
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay, here I go. I'm your architect. I like the building. Okay. So I think let's first look at the site plan. The detailed one with the HVAC. Yeah, I'm asking a question. The comments come at the end. Okay. So looking at the HVAC unit, do we know how tall that unit is?
That unit is about between 6 to 7 feet tall.
Okay. So how tall is the fence?
Right now, we're proposing a 6-foot tall fence, but I actually went to the site today, and I do notice that the boundary between our property and the neighbors is actually more like 9 to 10 feet. It's taller than what we thought. So we could potentially increase the height of the fence so it covers the entire top of the HVAC unit. If that is what your concern is about.
That is the question, and you've answered it. But here's part two. What type of equipment is that? Is it a VRF system? Is there ductwork on it?
It is a heat pump. I mean, it's a RTU roof, which would traditionally be used in RT rooftop forced air unit. So the ductwork coming out of the unit would not come out from the top. It will come out to the side. And so what it does is that there will be two ducts coming out, supply and return. They would come out from the south side of the unit, maybe at the waist level, and then you would enter the building. As you can see on the east side of the building along grid line 1, I hope you can see there's some area that we have reserved for hiding the folding partitions. And to the north of that, it will be a chase space. So the duct will basically enter the chase space at that elevation. Now, the elevation hasn't been specified. It could either be at waist level or at 7 or 8 feet. It will go into the building, and then you will turn up, and then you will follow the slope of the auditorium, and then it will be feeding air on both sides of the auditorium along east-west. That's
That's how I do it too. But it's going to be a comment, so preview. Okay, so I don't care how you do it, but we'll talk about that later, but it just has to be concealed.
Yes.
I mean, you could also pop the building out, do something fun that way, it'd be fine. Okay, so the unit, have you done a noise study on the unit?
We are working on that with the MEP engineers. So we have brought up that concern, whether that unit could be noisy. Now, he need to investigate with the vendor on the performance of the unit. Now, but I have actually thought about that. If noise could potentially become an issue, what we could do is we could put up a sound barrier to the east of the surface yard with CMU block. I thought there was a fence on the east side of the property, but however, when I went there, all I noticed is just hedges. So for safety reason, I think we need to put up something along that east side anyway. And then a CMU wall potentially would be a good candidate to block all the sound.
I agree. I mean, just to protect the institution, right? I mean, there's residential right there. You're going to want to do something. So we're not going to tell you how to get there, other than you need to do a study and you need to mitigate it, and that we support that wall being concrete, or being, if it has to be, and it being tall enough to cut off the noise. So there's some comments in there with my questions. Okay, so solar. So this being California in a commercial building, you got a plan for it? Yes. And let's take a look at the roof plan. When you get the building permit, it needs to be on there.
Right. We actually have quite a lot of discussion on solar panels. Now, the reason why they are not put in here is, I mean, Dr. Cole basically wants to fundraise for the solar panels, but we have talked about the possibility of locating the solar panels on the flat roof side, basically what the two white area that you see on the roof. Those potentially could be good candidates. We will probably refrain from putting solar panels on a slope roof. We think it could basically induce detrimental effect on the visual aspect of the building. So we have reserved the two flat roof area for future solar panel installation. It is not in the current plan, mostly because of budget reason. That
You're probably going to have to do it. I do commercial public buildings, so you're probably going to have to do it. So my comment's just going to be if there's solar panels, they go on the flat roofs, just like you said. Okay. So let's talk about drop-off. Let's look at the site plan one more time. So school kids, afternoon, where are they going to be dropped off? How's that going to work?
Can I let a committee member answer this question?
Yeah.
Sure. Tracy?
So in this picture, hi, I'm Tracy. Last name is Wen. Tracy Wen. So in this picture, we designed to put the drop-off and pickup area next to the EV parking spots. So you see the EV parking spot.
Maybe you could point them out.
So the parking stop under those EV and those a couple EV parking stop over there.
Oh, you have EV parking. Oh, I see.
It's EV
Right,
parking
yeah.
over there, and so next to it, next to those EV parking stops are pick up and drop off area.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to tell you guys how to do it, but, I'd say one of my comments is going to be, I mean, if you have, I think you said that 30 students, then, you're going to have to think about how that works. So I'm just going to make a comment that really, you probably should have your operational plan amended a bit to say how people, because all these kids are going to come at once. So I'm going to say that. I don't know that it won't work, but it's something you're going to have to deal with.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thanks.
Well, I'll take note with that. I'll take note on that.
Yeah, okay. I had the same comments about the blank wall. The same question. Thank you. Questions, comments? I get so confused. It's been a long day. Would you consider on that blank wall, looking at those restrooms, it's kind of funky, but could you put some obscure glass or off to the side to kind of technically meet the requirement? Vertical panels.
Potentially we could. I mean, there always room to put some, opaque glass. And they could actually bring in a little bit of natural light to the restroom as well. We could certainly consider that. I mean, as long as they don't have overly complicated the facade, which is our intent.
I mean, I totally supportive of the overall design. We have this new requirement. It's a new requirement.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to start waiving it. Let's see what else.
In that same note, I mean, could a window be high and long, like a long clear story window at the top of that wall? Or is that going to mess structurally?
I mean, it's up to you. How you want to do it. Yeah. I think
Yeah, points taken.
other things are just like, so like the long walls that you have, the long white wall, the other wall, you're going to need to have control joints in there. I think you recognize that. Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be a comment. think everything else is just a comment. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
So I think we're going to move on to public comment, right? So do we have any public comment? Has anybody turned in a speaker card? No? Okay. None? So none heard. Let's move on to commissioner comments.
I'll close the public hearing.
Oh, we're closing the public hearing first. Commissioner comments. So go ahead.
I can start. Okay, so I appreciate your explanation of how the new building will relate to the existing church, but I gotta say, I don't see it. They feel very distinct to me, and I wonder if there's an opportunity to maybe use the crosswalk or the planting, or maybe consider a drop-off area that integrates the entry plaza to make it feel like one unified campus. Like you intend for somebody who's visiting to really matriculate between those buildings and feel like it's one big space that's open to everyone. And how you address that, that's my opinion. I do feel like the long wall, I hear your thought process behind it, but I even noticed in the inspiration picture that you shared, like there's a cutout in the wall, and there are some boulders at the base, and there are a few smaller trees. So I do want to uphold that design standard, that I think there needs to be something visual to break up just a really long, strong wall. I do think the architecture is cool. The only thing I'm struggling with is just how it relates to the neighborhood and the existing church. And so I think maybe it's some of the details that can help scale it down and make it feel a little more appropriate in this residential area. And in that same vein, the wood fence that returns to the neighbors also feels a little unrelated, So we've got this kind of grand stucco building, and then it has kind of a good neighbor fence. It just feels like that could use a little more thought. I also wanted to recommend, if you haven't already, having a conversation with those neighbors, because we've seen in the past that does a lot of good. They just want to understand typically what's going on and what it might mean to them. Like, are they going to lose their hedges? You did acknowledge that there is some refinement that needs to happen on the landscape plan, so I hear you, but just some of the things I want to make sure that we're able to see. So it calls out permeable pavers. I just wanted to know the extent of where those happen. On the plans, it shows like this hexagon shape, but on the rendering, they're long and linear. So just kind of like cleaning that up so we really get an understanding of what it looks like. I think it would be cool if there is an opportunity to follow the recommendation of the arborist to keep that pear and break it. It's in like a tiny little thing that was probably put in, 50 years ago, right? So give it a little bit of space if we want to keep it. I don't love pears, so, that's my opinion. The crosswalk I support, like somehow making it feel like a campus, and yes, address lighting design. Like that would be a really cool way to emphasize that white wall, and maybe it's like uplights on a tree or something. I think if there was a way to more overtly celebrate the Taiwanese culture, that would be really cool. Like when you were presenting it, I was kind of like, ooh, I'm going to get some cool tidbits, right? So I think that would be really fun, just as a way. Yeah, like something to help celebrate it, because I actually don't know that much, and I would love that, and I think that would feel really special and unique. And I don't know what that would be, but I'm curious to see how that could come forward. And then that's it. Sorry, I just had to make sure I got through everything. That's it. Thank you. Okay.
I don't have nearly as much, but in following, I do like your idea of sort of identifying what makes this place special. Again, don't know what that is. I think it's really wonderful that it's coming to our community, and I love that. So I think really kind of getting it out there with the current architecture and the current configuration, it does almost disappear. So if there were a way that it could not quite disappear so much. And then again, I know that this is a preliminary landscape plan, but just being sensitive to like what plants are going in there, and as far as that front, I saw on here that there's a red bud, and I think that you know, having a row of red buds along that white wall would be really beautiful and totally appropriate. And so thinking about things like that as you work through the landscape plan would be helpful.
I echo both of their comments, and you already heard my questions. I would like it to see some cultural identity too. I'd like to see that. It would be really cool. It's kind of in my neighborhood, so not sort of. I'm on that side of the freeway, but and I also like your architecture. I just we do have these rules, so breaking those long walls up would be great. And I'm thankful you're keeping the cedar tree. I have one in my backyard, and they're my favorites.
The one that you wanted to fall, that it actually half fell all
Oh, that one,
I can
yeah.
see that
the-
it's leaning.
and then
Right.
it fell all the way.
Yeah.
2 months ago.
But the big one in front is still there.
The
Right.
little one.
Okay. Well, I have another one if you guys would like a donation of a 20-foot tall cedar in a big pot. All right, anyway, thank you.
Okay, here we go. So I had a question for you guys on the landscape side. So with the mulberry gone, does it make sense to condition more landscaping be done around that area?
Well, I
More attention.
also, I mean, I hear that the landscape plan needs to be developed, but I wondered if I'm looking at the landscape plan. There are these 3 little shrubbies that happen between the driveway and the courtyard, and I kind of circled it on my plan because I couldn't help myself. I wonder if like the connection goes there and the plaza like becomes, I don't know. So maybe there is an opportunity for more landscape, but we're also making that connection between the 2 buildings a little more apparent, and so then maybe you're cutting in, I don't know. I've got ideas. So yes, I think making sure that courtyard feels like a landscaped place of like respite, but where you can also gather would be really cool.
To answer you as well, Phil, I think, yes, it's a really big, as far as like square footage and building to non-built areas, you've got a lot of non-built areas, which is great, but it also gives you an opportunity to really sort of amp up the landscaping and really make it feel more like soften the space. And as Casey was saying, create a connection between this building that looks very different, which is the existing church, and the new building, which is fun and modern and great, but bringing those together is really important. To answer
Okay,
you.
all right.
Yeah.
Got something there? Okay. So first off, I agree with everything they said. I think probably the biggest thing is the blank wall. And you've seen that there are a lot of tools that we're throwing out there that you could use. Another one to think about is identity, right? So you have the signage there. There's a fabulous opportunity there for public art, even if it's very subtle, right? But like Casey was saying, I mean, tying it all together, I mean, you could almost look at that whole front as, I wouldn't say it's all signage because we have sign standards as well, right? But graphics, you could do this wonderful graphical wall that basically talks about, the importance of the Taiwanese community, something abstract, and you could light it, so you could see what's going on. You could do it, and the landscaping too would help. I mean, you're looking now at the landscaping like it's 2-dimensional, and really, if you thought about composing it against, you could compose against the wall. I believe the solution should be architectural, because that's what I am, and I think it's at the same time I really like what the design is, but you could do something very subtle, I think, and it would really help bridge that identity between the two. So just something, landscape, identity that is not, the signage is probably appropriately sized, but something like that, right?
It also reminded me when you said that I was excited on the first page when I read Taiwanese ceramic tiles will be erected as an acknowledgement to the Taiwanese culture, and I was like, where are those? Where did those go? So, love to see that too, wherever that is.
So they were intentionally taken out because I believe the applicant's team was concerned that might not be taken well. So it's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I mean, I support you identifying yourself, right? And I know where you're coming from. It's just the nature of our, I think it's just the world that we're in, right? But I think I support what you're trying to do. And so what better way to do it than have some kind of a subtle thing that says it doesn't have to say this is exactly what it is, but can actually draw people in, what is this? I'm interested, and have them come in, which is probably part of it's tricky. Yeah, I know, but I know.
It resonated with me how you showed the picture of like the elderly teaching it to the children, because I was actually thinking about my kids when I was thinking about this space, and they would love just like seeing a different culture. Like there are a lot of cool modern buildings like the library and stuff, but they would be very interested in seeing like what's different, what's like they're at least my kids, I can't speak for an entire generation, but they're curious. And so I think spaces that feel welcoming but also give them information is something they seek. So I would lean into that. But again, that's my personal experience.
It is a cultural center, so a little bit of your culture would be. Something like the public art or you get it. That would be
Yeah.
really cool. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay, so you kind of brought up the banquet 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh, that's not really banquet,
We can't.
Okay. Can't really have a dialogue right now. I mean, otherwise have to open it up. Can't do it because it's against the rules. But I'll say this comment. If you have events like that, you need to consult with the health department. That's the comment, because you need to make sure that you have hand washing and other things. Okay, that's the comment. That's as deep as it has to go. I've helped out parishes like this. I know exactly what it is. I'm recommending that the noise study be done for the unit, and that you have, you look at the wall between you and the neighbor, and that it be appropriate height, and that you work that out with the neighbor, as Commissioner Case said. Because what you don't want to do is have this 9-foot wall there and not have it soften somehow. Comment about the solar should be on the flat roofs. Operational plan, a little more detail about how the drop-off is done so that it works. Not going to tell you how. The lighting, well, our standards are to have the lighting be shielded, so you're going to meet that. Details. The stucco panels should have appropriate control joints, designed and planned. This is a kind of a random comment. Make sure on the glassy side of the building that those operable walls actually don't conflict with the glue lamps. Make sure you seal those glue lamps and their exterior grade so that they don't delaminate, and better detailing on the fence. That's it. Anything else?
You got the expansion of the landscape plan, right?
I've compiled some of the comments, and we should probably reach consensus on these.
We have, okay.
I've loosely grouped them together, so I'll try to stay on point here, but I might go sideways. So first of all was landscaping. One was maybe enhance the ornamental garden to be an ornamental garden with more ornamental trees. That might help the wall issue. Make those trees 24-inch box. And revisit the use of maple and dogwood. And then there's also enhance landscape and enhance the landscape plan, further develop the landscape plan, and look at creating, for the hardscape, look at creating connections between the church and the new building and all the buildings with different pavements and hardscapes, or some type of pavement.
Can we just say,
Something.
use the landscape design to create connectivity between the buildings? Because it doesn't have to be hardscape.
So hardscape and softscape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And that was my finishing comment there. And also consider further landscaping the area around the mulberry tree. Those are my landscape comments. Does everybody, can we reach consensus on all of those comments, or some of those comments, or anything that anybody doesn't like?
Nope.
No?
Support them all.
Yep.
Okay.
No, there is nothing I don't like. That was a double negative, I'm sorry.
I'm seeing 3 heads nodding yes. Okay, that's all I need. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see, around the HVAC area, we do allow 7-foot tall fences, so we might require a 7-foot tall fence. And also the use of a cedar or a redwood, solid wood fence should be revisited,
Yes.
to Casey's point?
Yes,
Okay.
I would like that.
Tied into the acoustic comment, because once they're doing that, they might want to just wrap it.
Yes, and also that also includes a noise study, and any mitigations, recommend those mitigations to the planning commission.
Yes.
The noise study is specifically for the HVAC system.
Yes, HVAC only. Okay, where are my other Bs? I think that's it. Cs, in regards to the building, let's see, show control joints, it's probably a good comment. To visit the code to see if it's going to need to be solar equipped or at least solar ready. But that would be a code issue.
And if they're going to put them on there, they need to go on the flat roofs.
Right, as proposed, or as stated, right. And also, let's see, the wall. Consider potentially transom windows or the like, or some type of architectural enhancement to address the design guideline. It's actually a design standard.
I don't know that I desperately need it to be architectural. You know what I mean? Like if there were boulders and trees, that might be enough for me. But I do want to uphold the standard. So if that then conflicts with the standard, then never mind.
Now, remember that if the Design Review Commission has the ability to recommend waiving a standard to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission can waive a standard. If you make the, if you feel it's not unnecessary.
I
Can we
don't- I don't wanna
conditionally waive it?
I think we should uphold it.
Uphold
Because
it?
none of us loved the large blank wall. We wanted something else to happen. We just didn't know what it was.
If it's done through landscaping, we can just do it through landscaping.
So that would still uphold the standard,
Yes.
right? Okay, so the only change I wanted in what you mentioned was just that it doesn't have to be a window or something. It could be, but it doesn't have to be,
Okay.
right?
Or public art. I really like this sort of.
Public art.
And then there's also the public art aspect to take a look at what your public art requirement's
Yeah.
going to be and consider doing it on site and potentially to help that issue.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
So the 30-foot, the 40-foot wall is broken up with some form of either art, landscaping, or a combination thereof.
or something
Or
else.
architectural,
Yes.
Okay.
any of those options, but
Okay.
it needs to be addressed.
But do something, not nothing. Okay,
Right.
got it. Also, further enhance the landscape plan with lighting. All lighting should be downward shielded or meet the design standards. And the last one was to recommend neighborhood outreach. Yeah, okay. All right,
Can I add
you got all that?
one more thing here? So on the glue lamps, I love the idea. Make sure exterior glue is used and that they're held up off the ground a little bit so they don't rot out.
Is that a code? Is that?
Not really, no. They're not going to pick it up in the building. It's basically something, it's basically experience, what it is.
Turn gray and split, got it, okay. Okay, do I get, is there consensus on that, on those items? Okay, great. Okay. That could be a wrap. Yeah.
So we're done. Oh, sure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Excited for you guys. So now with that done, we're going to move on to commissioner considerations. So commission's considerations. So this is for items that are not publicly noticed, but were formal staff presentation, question and answer period, public input, or discussion among the commissioners helpful. Do you guys have anything?
Nope.
Staff?
I have none. No.
Okay.
We do have a few items coming up and thank you. We're still conducting a meeting here, though. Yes.
Just give us a minute. Give us a minute here. Just a minute. We're almost done. We're trying to get out of here. Okay. Commissioner, member, and staff reports or announcements. No announcements. Nothing. Okay. Adjourn.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.